Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Today is day 49 of our readings of the 252 Vaishnava disciples of Sri Gosaiji. Today we commence with Varta 27, the story of Manik Chand, Haridas's son-in-law. Part 1. Haridas's priest had arranged his daughter's marriage and then left that place to return home. That night she bound her head up with some cloth and slept because she could not tolerate the bad etiquette of all her laws, or for all her in-laws, and was thus very upset. She decided not even to drink water in that house, just to lie there and then to give up her body. She stayed lying down for 2 or 3 days. One day her mother-in-law called her and said, "Oh, daughter-in-law, you do not eat or drink anything. Have you come here just to die? Why will you not eat or drink anything here?" At that moment the girl remembered Sri Gosaiji and thought, "Oh Maharaj, my parents have abandoned me and made me have to face this bad association. They neither speak nor listen to me, still they are worried about my dying. You know the resolution of my very heart, so now please make my words such that they can hear what I say." In this way and with much longing, Haridas's daughter prayed to Sri Gosaiji. Then she fearlessly addressed her mother-in-law, saying, "Oh mother-in-law, I will drink water when I have fetched it myself. I should do my own cooking and no one should touch my water. Then I will be able to drink it. Otherwise my death is upon my parents for sending me with that priest and forcing me to marry into this family. If you all respect what I say, then I shall drink water or eat." The mother-in-law said, "Do what is best for you." She spoke up again, "I need new vessels for the water. I also need new cooking pots. I myself will fill the water pots. Afterwards I shall do all the cooking and keep one plate separate for myself. After that I shall give you the cooked preparations to you in your own vessels. Apart from this, just do as you wish, but no one should touch my cooking when I am preparing anything." Hearing these words of her daughter-in-law, the mother-in-law ordered in all new cooking pots and pans. She then said, "Oh, daughter-in-law, please now do as you wish. None of us will say anything to you." The daughter-in-law then bathed and fetched water, cooked and made her offerings to Srinathji. She told her mother-in-law to then prepare. She told her mother-in-law to then bring her own pots so that she could put her share of the preparations into them. They did just that. Then the girl washed up her own pots, stored them separately, cleaned the kitchen, gave all the family members to eat, accepted back the prasad, and then partook of that prasad. Then she got ready all the cooking supplies and made sure that there was enough water there. In this way she daily prepared and performed her cooking rituals. Everyone who lived in that house was very impressed with her rules and behaviour. They said, "Gosh, you wouldn't even know that there had been any housework to do." Many days passed in this manner. There was one other disciple of Sri Gosaiji who lived in that village. He heard all about this girl's ways. One day, after completing his seva at home, that Vaishnava came to the house of Haridas's daughter. She recognized him to be a fellow Vaishnava. Bhav Prakash, the inner meaning. In the eternal Leela, this Vaishnava is a Sakhi of Sri Yamunaji, named Vaishnavi. He was born into a family of Nagar Brahmins. One day when Sri Gosaiji was travelling towards Dwarka, he set up camp on the outskirts of this village. It was at that time that this Brahmin became a disciple of Sri Gosaiji. Sri Gosaiji had presented him with a swarupa of child Krishna and told him to serve him very nicely. From that day on, the Brahmin secretly served his deity at home. This was because his village was mostly inhabited by Jains, who did not adhere strictly to the appropriate rules of behaviour. Therefore he served his Sri Thakurji in such a way that no one would know. Part 1 continued. When he arrived, the girl greeted him with Jai Sri Krishna. He asked her where she had come from, whose daughter she was, and who was her guru. She told him everything. Hearing her story, that Vaishnava's heart was overwhelmed. After she had thus recounted how she was living to that Vaishnava, she requested him to let her see him once a day. He said, "If the people in your house see me coming on a regular basis, they will all get angry and give you trouble. Therefore I shall not come regularly. When I have time, I shall come." She replied, "If you tell me where you live, I shall be able to at least greet you with the name of the Lord as I go along my way to fetch water." He again replied, "This will not work. Your situation is difficult. You will be coming with a pure heart, but the people who live here are very corrupted in their minds, and they will tell tales about you to your family. Then they will hassle you. Therefore I shall come past your house and at least say Jai Sri Krishna." Having said this, he returned home. Thereafter, when he had completed his seva at home, he would come past her house and say, Jai Shri Krishna. Only after he had done that would she partake of prasad. One morning that Vaishnava forgot to come past her house. He had prasad and went to work. Haridas's daughter covered up her prasad. When the Vaishnava was at home in the afternoon getting ready for the Lord's afternoon seva, he remembered that he had not greeted Haridas's daughter that day. When he had bathed and completed his Sri Thakurji's seva, he came past her house and said Jai Shri Krishna, then returned home. Therefore that day it was evening before she had her prasad. Her mother-in-law asked her why she was having her meal so late, and the girl told her, In this village lives my godbrother. I get to see him going past the house every day. I only take my prasad after I have seen him. The mother-in-law praised her, saying, You are most blessed that you have such faith in your guru. So, from tomorrow, when he comes past to let you see him, then please call me, so that I might also come to have his sight. Haridas's daughter felt very happy to hear her words, because it seemed to her that Sri Gosaiji was influencing her mind for the better, so that she seemed to have affection for the other Vaishnavas. The next morning the Vaishnavas came past her house. The girl replied to his Jai Shri Krishna greeting, and then told him the events of the previous day. He also felt happy and said, Sri Gosaiji is very powerful. He is indeed the Lord's himself. It does not take him long to turn an embodied soul's heart in the right direction. It seems that everyone in your house will soon be uplifted. Bhav Prakash. Why? Because the mother-in-law was in fact a divine soul. In the eternal Leela, her name is Kalyani, and she is part of Sri Yamunaji's group. Manik Chand's name is Sumati, who appeared from Ratnaprabha, and is thus a form of her divine loving sentiment. He is a devotee of sattvic disposition. Part 1 continued. Haridas's daughter was most pleased by the Vaishnava's words and said to him, Through your blessings all of them will have a good destiny. You are a most accomplished Vaishnava. I can see that Sri Gosaiji's great grace is upon me, even inasmuch as my parents abandoned me. If a fly falls into milk, it can be extracted from the milk, but the milk itself cannot take the fly out. What to do? Both the milk and the fly are dependent on one another. The one whose milk it is, are dependent on another, the one whose milk it is, and so it is that the fly can be separated from the milk. When a female child is born, and she is dependent on her parents, and she is thereafter dependent on whomsoever she is given to in marriage. But what can the mother and father do? They are bound up in the clutches of time. They become fearful of what the world will say about them, and so cannot keep a grown-up girl at home with them. However, all of them are tied into the hands of the Lord. He holds very tightly onto the thread between himself and his own souls, and never lets them go. He causes them to come into contact with those whom they need to meet, just as Sri Gosaiji caused me to meet you. Sri Gosaiji is the Lord, and therefore very compassionate. Hearing her words, the Vaishnava was overjoyed and said, After all, she is the daughter of Haridas, the very person who brought about the upliftment of the king, as well as of all the inhabitants of America. Yes, she is his daughter. It is not a surprise that her intelligence is as pure as it is. The girl then said to her mother-in-law, That Vaishnava has come to stay, Jai Shri Krishna, to me. I have asked him to take a seat. Would you like to have a chance to meet him, or should he go home? The mother-in-law was glad to hear this, and blissfully came to have the sight of that Vaishnava. As soon as she saw him, she bowed down at his feet and said, This daughter of law and mine has uplifted our whole family. Seeing her pure sentiment, the Vaishnavas felt very happy. She then asked again, Our daughter-in-law has not revealed her path to us. Will you please explain it to us? And the Vaishnava looked at Haridas's daughter and signalled him not to say anything. Bhav Prakash. By withholding such information, the intention was to increase the mother-in-law's desire to know. Her wish to learn could only be fruitful when her desire to know would be intensely increased, and this is why the daughter-in-law said no. Aaj ke Anand ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. सब वैष्णवों को जय श्री कृष्ण जय जय